Introduction. Advances in artificial intelligence, AI, are reshaping work across Europe. Economists estimate that roughly 35 to 15% of work tasks could be affected by AI, mostly replacing routine, mid-skilled jobs. This raises concerns about job displacement, especially in finance, retail, logistics, manufacturing, and IT services. At the same time, sectors like healthcare and education may see job growth as AI augments human roles. Europe's response is shaped by strong regulation. The General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, enforces strict data rules with over €1.2 billion in fines levied in 2025. And the new EU AI Act, effective mid-2025 for core rules, sets standards for AI use. These laws provide guardrails but could slow adoption of some AI tools. This article examines job changes in April-May 2026 across EU countries, focusing on AI-related layoffs and sector impacts. We draw on Eurostat labor surveys, national employment reports, and news of company layoff notices. A shift-share analysis helps separate the influence of overall economic trends from each country's industry mix. We pay special attention to Spain, Germany, Poland, and the Nordic countries, which have different regulation and industrial profiles. Our goal is to understand how AI and rules like GDPR AI Act interact with sectoral composition and digital intensity, and what policies can ease the transition. AI and jobs, global context studies suggest AI will not cause a single job apocalypse, but it will retool the job market. AI is expected to replace many fairly skilled tasks, especially routine ones, but also create new roles requiring higher skills. For example, services like online banking and retail are automating routine work while generating demand for tech support and data analysis. A survey by Morgan Stanley found that businesses using AI saw roughly 8% net job losses over a year. That study focused on countries like the US, UK, Japan, Germany, and Australia. It noted UK workers were hit particularly hard, 23% of jobs cut in the last 12 months in AI-using firms, partly due to managers rushing to slash headcount. In general, then, AI tends to reduce jobs faster in operations that can be automated, while boosting overall productivity. Europe differs from the US-Asia in being more cautious about AI. The EU's regulatory framework, GDPR for privacy, and the AI Act for AI safety reflects public wariness about data use and automated decisions. For instance, a recent poll found over 90% of Europeans distrust large US and Chinese tech companies to handle data securely. The AI Act, phased in from August 2024, caps high-risk AI deployment initially, and enforcement of its strictest rules was delayed beyond spring 2026. This means companies face uncertainty. Some EU nations have set up AI oversight bodies, e.g. France and Germany already have agencies ready, but others lag behind in AI Act readiness. These regulatory differences will influence how firms invest in AI and whether they delay adopting it, which may slow layoffs, or forge ahead, which may speed them up. Data and methods. We use multiple data sources: Eurostat Labor Force Survey, LFS, official quarterly employment figures by country and sector. For example, Eurostat reported that Spain created 526,000 net new jobs in 2025, 41% of the EU total, whereas Germany lost 327,000 in the same period. These figures give a macro view of job changes. National labor surveys and ministry reports. Some countries, like Spain, publish more disaggregated data. For Spain, the Encuesta de Población Activa (EPA) showed tech sector, programming, consulting, IT services employment fell by 23,400 in Q1 2026, minus 4.4% year-on-year. Such sources help identify AI-linked trends in specific industries. Firm-level disclosures and press. We look at company announcements or news, e.g. major banks, tech firms, that link layoffs to AI or automation. For instance, Global Tech Reports noted tens of thousands of AI-related cuts in early 2026, giving context for EU tech sectors. Industry and digital indices. To gauge digital intensity and sector mix, we consider metrics like the share of manufacturing GDP and the prevalence of ICT jobs per country. For example, manufacturing was about 18% of Germany's GDP versus 17.5% for Poland. Nordic countries are lower, around 14 to 16% in Sweden, Finland, Denmark. Nordic and Western EU states tend to score higher on digitalization indexes, e.g. DESI scores, which correlates with how quickly AI might be adopted. To interpret changes, we apply a shift-share decomposition. This technique breaks a region's job change into 1. A national growth effect if the region had followed overall EU growth, plus 2. An industry mix effect because some regions have more jobs in growing or shrinking sectors. The remaining local share effect captures anything unique to that region. This lets us say, for instance, how much of Spain's job gain comes from its booming economy versus its industry structure versus other factors. Country-level job changes, Spring 2026. By spring 2026, EU job dynamics are uneven across countries and sectors. Some economies are still expanding, others contracting. We highlight Spain, Germany, Poland, and the Nordics. Spain's economy was the EU's fastest-growing labor market in 2025. In the year through late 2025, Spain added roughly 526,000 jobs, 2.5% growth. Much of this came from tourism, construction, and services. However, Spain's tech sector shows signs of strain. The National Labor Survey, EPA, shows IT and related services employment fell by 23,400 in Q1 2026, negative 4.4% year-on-year, even as total employment was still rising. Experts note this drop could be linked to companies automating IT tasks with AI. For example, programming and consulting roles were hit hardest. Spain's sector mix explains this pattern. Spain has a smaller heavy industry base than Germany, so broad manufacturing layoffs played a lesser role. Instead, it experienced within-sector tech cuts alongside ongoing hires elsewhere. On the positive side, Spain is also rapidly automating. It installed 5,100 new industrial robots in 2024, fourth in the EU, driven by automotive demand. This suggests strong industry investment that could sustain jobs. In sum, Spain's headline job growth remains strong, but its tech-oriented workers face early AI displacement. Germany's central EU. Germany's economy, while robust in output, saw a net job decline in late 2024-2025. Germany lost about 327,000 jobs from Q4 2024 to Q4 2025. A large reason is that Germany's manufacturing sector, roughly 18% of GDP, cooled down, reducing factory and assembly jobs. German unemployment ticked up slightly in early 2026, partly due to global factory slowdowns. Germany also leads in automation. It was Europe's largest market for industrial robots, fifth worldwide, but robot installations fell 5% in 2024 to about 27,000 units. This may indicate that new automation projects are slowing. On AI, many German firms, banks, insurers, engineering firms are now adopting AI in areas like fraud detection and design. This is cutting back-office roles even in well-paid industries. Overall, Germany's job losses in early 2026 appear driven more by economy-wide factors and a heavy manufacturing mix, rather than sudden AI shocks. The tech sector in Germany, IT services, software, has not shown the same sharp drop as Spain's. Indeed, some tech hiring continues for AI development. But routine positions, e.g. in finance or customer service, are being trimmed. Poland, Eastern EU. Poland's economy has grown strongly, around 3 to 4% GDP growth, and became the EU's fifth largest economy in 2025. Its labor market expanded and unemployment is low. Like Germany, Poland has a high manufacturing share, about 17% of GDP, and a fast-growing IT outsourcing sector. So far, we see no spikes in AI-related layoffs in Poland. Official data through early 2026 show continued job gains in services and industry. Polish firms are on par with Western Europe in adopting automation in factories, but have also heavily invested in cloud services and AI centers, e.g., foreign tech hubs were attracted in recent years. In theory, Poland could be vulnerable because its economy is large and industrial. However, it also has a record of quickly retraining workers. If AI adoption accelerates in 2026, we may see slowdowns in call centers or accounting, but as of spring 2026, those shifts are subtle. No major Polish banks or companies have announced AI-driven cuts yet. Nordic countries, Northern EU, Nordic economies, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, consistently rank among Europe's most digital and innovative. They have high shares of ICT jobs, widespread broadband, and strong AI research programs. For instance, Sweden and Denmark lead in investments in automation equipment. According to industry data, Germany, Sweden, and Italy have a solid tradition of robotics and advanced automation. Spain was an unusual standout, with 5,100 new robots in 2024. But generally, the Nordics are well automated by European standards. So far, there is little sign of mass AI layoffs in Norden. Companies like Ericsson Sweden or Tietoevry Finland are using AI but focusing on innovation and quality improvement. Freelancing and tech entrepreneurship are also common in Sweden, Denmark, cushioning job shifts. High labor standards and social welfare in these countries can also slow layoffs. Firms may prefer reskilling workers in-house. Thus, the Nordics may see efficiency gains from AI without as large a job cut this spring. Nevertheless, routine jobs in banking and public services still face pressure. For example, Danish and Swedish banks are trialing AI for customer support and claim processing. Decomposing the changes, shift share analysis. To understand why jobs changed in each country, we applied shift share decomposition. This separates the national growth effect, what would happen if the country grew like the EU average, from the industry mix effect, how the country's specific sector structure changes jobs relative to EU trends. For Spain, the national economy was growing strongly. Spain's national effect added many jobs, consistent with plus 2.5% growth in 2025. On top of that, Spain's sectors are weighted toward tourism and public services, growing areas. However, Spain's industry effect was negative in tech. Its heavy IT services sector actually lost jobs. In shift share terms, Spain's total employment gain is partly offset by this tech sector hit. For Germany, the story is different. Germany's overall growth was flat, sluggish in 2025, so the national effect is weak or even negative. Its industry mix, large manufacturing and automotive, was also shrinking. Thus, both effects contributed to job loss. When we subtract this, there is little leftover local shock, meaning that AI-specific layoffs added onto a general decline. In Poland, the national effect is strongly positive. The economy is booming. Its industry mix, which still has lots of manufacturing, is neutral to slightly positive. Global manufacturing was okay. We found no large negative sector shock signal in early 2026 for Poland's data, implying AI hasn't flipped a switch on jobs yet. For the Nordics, national growth effects were moderately positive. Their industry mixes, more ICT and services, are also relatively neutral. ICT jobs are growing overall in the EU, for example. Thus, Nordic saw steady employment, with any small losses easily attributed to national slowdowns in, say, Sweden's telecom sector. Overall, the shift share analysis suggests that where we see big changes, like Spain's tech jobs, it is often within a sector, whereas broad changes, like Germany's. In summary, shift share indicates that regional economic performance, growth versus stagnation, explains much of the employment changes, but the sectors hardest hit by AI, e.g. tech services, banking back office, show negative industry mix effects in countries where those sectors are large. Spain's sharp drop in IT jobs is a clear example of an industry effect on top of a booming economy. Germany's losses come mainly from weak growth overall. Regulation and displacement. Regulation plays a subtle role. Europe's strict GDPR framework and local data protection enforcement makes companies very careful about data use in AI. This can slow deployment of AI tools for tasks like customer profiling. The AI Act, even if not all enforced yet, has already made firms build compliance plans. Officially, AI systems used at work, e.g. for hiring or performance scoring, will face EU standards. We see mixed signs. The EU's regulatory emphasis did not prevent job cuts, but it has so far limited some high-risk AI uses. Many layoffs we see, e.g. in Spanish IT, are due to general-purpose tools like coding assistants not yet under strict AI Act rules. In contrast, EU rules encourage local AI alternatives, e.g. European cloud and AI services, which might mean more domestic R&D jobs. Countries ready for AI Act compliance might adopt AI more slowly. For example, Germany and France have been early regulators while some Eastern EU countries have lagged. This could partly explain why we haven't seen as rapid adoption and thus layoffs in some places. However, by mid-2026, the rules are mostly in place. Audits and risk assessments must be done by companies using AI. Firms incapable of meeting these standards may delay automation, pushing out layoff waves into later 2026. Conclusion and recommendations. The spring 2026 picture is mixed. Spain and other strong growth economies are still creating jobs overall, but their tech and office sectors are showing stress. Germany and other industrialized countries have lost jobs overall, with AI accelerating cuts in routine work. Nordic and Eastern countries so far avoid large layoff numbers thanks to continued growth and high tech intensity. EU regulations, GDPR and AI Act, appear to make firms proceed with caution, potentially reducing sudden job cuts, but they also add compliance burdens. Key takeaways: sectoral composition matters. Countries with more routine services, banking, retail, logistics, see earlier AI impacts. Countries stronger in healthcare or education are currently less affected. Digital intensity both drives and cushions change. Highly digital economies, Nordics, Western EU, adopt AI fast, but also invest in worker training. Less digital economies lag in automation, but risk falling behind. Regulation shapes the pace. Strict EU rules protect data and set high standards, which may slow layoffs in the short term. But easing too much on regulation could hasten AI job loss. Balancing this is crucial. Actionable advice: policymakers and businesses should work together to manage this transition. Invest in workforce skills. Fund retraining programs for mid-skill workers in impacted industries, e.g. banking clerks, basic programmers. Economists stress that AI will create new jobs needing different skills. Prepare workers now for roles in AI supervision, programming, and human-centric services. Safety nets and mobility. Strengthen unemployment benefits and job placement services in regions seeing AI-related cuts, e.g. apply personal unemployment funds specifically to displaced tech workers in Spain. Encourage companies to offer redeployment or part-time reskilling before layoffs. Monitor and measure. Set up regular surveys or task forces in line with the EU AI Act oversight bodies to track which sectors and occupations are seeing AI-driven declines. This data will allow targeted interventions. For example, if call centers shrink, boost training in customer relations or IT for those workers. Encourage responsible AI. Companies should adhere to EU regulations while pursuing innovation. For example, Germany's big banks have announced cuts due to AI, but they also invest in AI training labs. Regulators can offer clear guidelines so firms replace labor with AI responsibly, e.g. requiring human-in-the-loop for sensitive decisions. Leverage AI for new opportunities. Support sectors where AI complements workers. For instance, funding AI-driven healthcare startups or AI tutors in education can create jobs. As one expert notes, healthcare, social services, and education are poised for growth even as other sectors shrink. By taking these steps, reskilling workers, smoothing transitions, and fine-tuning regulation, the EU can harness AI's benefits while minimizing harm. Our analysis shows that the impact of AI on jobs is uneven across Europe, but with proactive policies, countries can adapt to diverse local conditions and keep more people productively employed into the next wave of technological change. All links to sources are available in the text version of this article. You can find the full article at can'tfindjob.com/blog. Thanks for listening. If today's episode hit close to home, stop scrolling job boards that weren't built for this new reality. Check out Claw Earn on AIagentstore.ai, the first jobs marketplace designed for both humans and AI agents, so you can start earning no matter which side of the AI revolution you're on.